locked into the Liberty Flames podcast, powered by Rogers Heating and Cooling, servicing Greater Lynchburg's HVAC and electrical needs. Schedule your service today at callrogers.com. Welcome to the NAZSCAR podcast with Nick Pierce. Don't worry, there's no lap traffic or caution flags here. Paul Nazigian and Tim Scarborough are here to bring you the latest on Liberty Flames basketball and mid-major hoops. Now, let's get to it. Here's Nick, Naz, and Scar.
What's up, Flames Nation? Welcome back into the podcast this week. This is NAZSCAR. I'm Nick Pierce. He's Tim Scarborough. He's Paul Nazigian. Glad to have you along once again here this week. Naz and Scar back on board, talking Flames men's basketball, talking mid-major college basketball. Headlines from around the country. We'll see what all we get into here today. We're glad to be here chopping it up for you on a early February afternoon, morning. I don't know when you're consuming this, but I was about to say early February morning. But yeah, we're just trying to get the ice and snow out of here, and got a month to go before conference tournament play starts here. That's hard to believe, but we'll look back at the week that was for Liberty men's basketball. Some history made for the Flames this past Saturday at Liberty Arena in Lynchburg. Flames tie the longest win streak in program history. 14 straight now, 76-73 over Missouri State. Zach Cleveland also posts the seventh triple-double in program history, and becomes just the fourth player to register a triple-double. We'll get into some of the history of that later, but outstanding day for Cleveland, outstanding day for the Flames. A little bit of a close call. We'll get into all that, but fellas, overall, you got to be happy with a 14-game winning streak. Got to be happy with where this program is right now. I feel like it's almost like a broken record. We're coming on every week talking about 2 more wins for the Flames, another win for the Flames, but not complaining.
Yeah, that's a good place to be, right? You know, rich people's problems, but
first world problems. Yeah,
exactly. But they're playing well. There are stretches of games where they look invincible, and then there are stretches where they don't. But we'll get into that. But Richie McKay has got them rolling right now. And really, they're playing on a national level. It's not just, Zach Cleveland is getting talked about a lot on social media. The frame, of course, Richie McKay coaches on a national level. People know who he is. So, it's good times right now on the mountain for Liberty.
Yeah, and the other side of that coin is like the rest of the conference. There are stretches where they look like they could beat anybody, and then there's stretches look like they can't win a game. So, So what you're seeing in Liberty game to game, you're kind of seeing around the conference game to game. So, yeah, it's going to be, it has been interesting, and it's going to continue to be all the way into March.
Yeah, for sure. 14 straight wins. No Liberty team's done that since the 2019-2020 Liberty team started the year 14-0. Cleveland, again, 7th triple-double in school history, and the first since 2012, and I'm sure you can all guess who the last guy to do that was. Jesse Sanders.
Tim Scarborough. Oh, no. I'm sorry. That was...
It doesn't count in your driveway, Tim, playing against your kids.
Yeah, I put up numbers against Kendall and Nico, I would tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, I put up numbers in a pickup game against no one that anyone's heard of.
Well, we got to say Hall of Famer Jesse Sanders was the last.
I was about to say, yeah, Hall of Fame.
Very great, very cool.
Jesse Sanders was the last. He did it 4 times, once in each year of eligibility that he played. That's insane.
Yeah, the only person in history to do that.
That's
by
right.
the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the others, can you guess them?
Yeah. Ed Gomes, the legend on campus.
Yes. Brother Ed.
And
I won't get the other one.
Kyle Oman.
Kyle Oman. Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
I was there for Kyle's. I think I was there for all 4 of Jesse's.
Yeah.
Was not in the house yesterday for Zach Cleveland, but I certainly witnessed it.
Yeah, and I know we're going to get into the games, but just if we're on that topic, I mean, everybody's been wanting it. He's come so close, such a special player. It's one of these things where, like, I guess in a sense you'd say, oh, it doesn't matter, but it really is important that what an incredible thing that he got it to now, and again, he's all over the record books, and he's a name that will be iconic in Liberty basketball history for what he's accomplished and his individual skills and all. But now to sort of have it in stone that he's, mentioned along with Jesse Sanders and
deservedly so.
Right.
Yep.
So just to make it official, I was really glad. I know all three of us were texting as it was happening, and just, happy that he got it. And, it's special. And, it's another special thing about this team that kind of we'll remember years down the road.
Yeah, you mentioned us texting. So lost on me was that Liberty was squandering that lead because I was just looking at Zach's because I was in the studio for HBCU Go, so I couldn't watch the game because I had to pay attention to the games I was supporting, and also we kept filming stuff, so I couldn't really get in. But I'd peek at my computer and say, "Oh, Zach is a couple more rebounds away," but I wasn't looking at the score. And when I saw that they had basically the shot to tie the game, it was a desperation shot. But I was like, "Where'd that 20-point lead go?" Crazy.
I couldn't text during that because I was throwing things around my living room.
You threw your phone.
Yeah, no, that was it was a wild day in the arena. And just for some context to put a bow on this, then we'll kind of get into the game here. Cleveland, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. That's the highest point total of any Liberty Flame to have a triple-double. Previously, it was Kyle Oman's 16 points. Jesse Sanders did it with 14, 10, and 13, 10 rebounds, 13 assists. Actually, we mentioned Ed Gomes. He's the only guy that didn't go the points, rebounds, assist route. He had 10 points, 13 steals, and 10 assists against Radford, January 24th, 1976.
Yeah, talking to Terry Falwell, he said, Ed taketh, but he also giveth away. He had a lot of.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say the triple double was the turnover.
Was the amount of turnovers that had that day.
Well, it's interesting because Roy Hibbert was on the call for CBS Sports, and he mentioned that he had gotten one. It's very interesting, but his was blocks instead of assists. So it's unique how some of these other guys do it.
Yeah,
that's insanely hard to do.
Yeah.
What's harder though, steals or blocks? I think steal. I don't know. Both of those.
I think blocks. I think blocks because if
you're 7'1", it's steals is harder.
Right.
Well, true.
If you're 5'11", then the blocks are hard.
But right. I feel like at some point people are going to stop coming at you after you get to 4 or 5 blocks, right?
They never learn. That's why Mutombo was never learn. They keep coming in there.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. The game itself, Liberty wins at 79-76. Again, 14 straight wins. A game of ebbs and flows. Tim, I was like you. I was in studio, not HBCU, but I was in the studio running the women's game on the radio at Kennesaw State, so I didn't get to watch, kind of like you. But I was tracking the scores, and same kind of thing. Liberty gets up. It's close at halftime, right? 42-38. Liberty's up by 4 at the half.
Buzzer beater by Cleveland. He had a terrific first half, 15 points, 6 assists. Yeah. I mean, wow, he was. It's times where he's just spectacular. I mean, it's not just that he's scoring; it's how he's doing it. I mean, and the passes, man, was he putting on a show in that first half.
And then in the second half, Liberty gets up to 20-point lead with 12 minutes to go. That was punctuated by a Zach Cleveland dunk. Yep. 16-0 run in there, so I think that was in the second half. And then Missouri State just starts chipping away and putting a dent in this thing. And Keith Pallick, we talked about him last week. He finishes up with a game-high 25 points.
Really good
threes. And then Osei Bonsu ends up with 16 points as well. I mean, they were finding ways to – I guess, Paul, I'll ask you, how did Missouri State find a way to cut into that deficit, and why did this thing get so close?
Well, again, just before I hit that, like that stretch of – and again, first half, back and forth, two teams, kind of slugging it out. And you're right, Scar, Zach was just, he was cutting and getting passes and just lanes for lay-ins and dunks, and – that was really nice. But when they came out of the halftime and go on that 24-4 run, and you mentioned, Nick, 16-0 at one point, like we've seen a lot of great basketball, right, over of Liberty over the years. I mean, all the way
Yeah.
dating back to our old our old days, Scar. Like that segment was classic, beautiful Liberty basketball. I mean, they were
Yeah.
hitting threes and backdoor cuts, and
The
I mean,
ball, though, the ball was energetic.
yes, the
right?
ball is
It
just
was moving all over. the
yeah. I
place.
mean, it was incredible, and just next thing you know, it's just like no, they had no answer, and they're up 20. It's amazing. So man, that's just we've seen a lot of that this year. They're just these guys just know each other so well.
Yep.
And then it's I don't hate to nitpick, but it's like how do they happen? Like what happens is you give a team like one of two things. Either they just get pissed off and they're going to like do something to kind of just, snap out of it, or you give them a glimpse of hope. And there's a couple plays, and I'm not saying they are getting sloppy or casual, but like they come down and somebody throws a lob to Smith and it like goes into the seventh row. And it's like that would have been an incredible play. Everybody would have cheered. But what's the upside? Like it's only 2 more points and you're up 20, but you miss it and
Yeah.
they come down and score, and it just gives somebody hope. Whereas if you just run clock and just keep the boa, Kim Wright used to say the boa constrictor, you just keep them down, and they gave them hope on a couple of them. They came down and there's a turnover, just somebody dribbles it off their foot. And again, these guys, they're all in. Like they're not like getting careless, but it's like if a couple plays here and there, and then it's 12, and then it's 8, and so part of that is also good teams, and Missouri State is a good team. They are going to make a run. Like, and I'm sure you guys watched a little. Did you watch any Duke Carolina last night? I mean, Duke's up the whole game, 11, 9, 13, and good teams make a run like Carolina did. They came back and won. So some of there's some things to learn out of it, and our guys do a great job of learning. Even in a win, they're going to learn how they get better. But then there's other things you can clean up, and but sometimes teams just gonna make a run.
Yeah, I agree, and that's I have a slightly different take, but it was along those lines. It wasn't so much what Liberty wasn't doing. I thought Missouri State started playing better defense, and they never panicked. Like they just kept playing. I never saw them hanging their heads or saying we're out of this, because I think they believe in their big three. And Osei Bensu was in foul trouble for most of the game. He only played 25 minutes. And then he missed a ton of free throws. He was 4 for 12 for the line. At one point, he was 2 for 10. But he started hitting them down the stretch. And then Palick was tremendous down the stretch. He hit shots, man. He hit 3-pointers. Bensu had a rebound putback, and he pump faked. Then he kicked it out for a wide open 3. Everybody collapsed on him because he's 6'4", but he's like 260, 270, and he can jump. He's Barkley, right? So when he gets it in there, everybody's got to go. He kicked it out. Alex lefty stroke, right? So I was taking it frame by frame because I knew the outcome, and then I watched the game. And I kept looking at, what's the anatomy of this comeback? When are they going to do it? It was 7 minutes. Liberty's still up 14. It was 4 minutes. They're still up 12. It's 2 minutes. They're up 8. And I'm like, what happened? And it was just the 1,000 cuts.
Yep.
That's all it was. Liberty wasn't playing sloppily. The one thing they did do was slow the ball down more, because Liberty, the way this team is built, the pace is way different than it used to be. They're better when they play fast. That doesn't mean quick shots. It means kinetic energy. And so their possessions were more dribble, 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 dribble. All right, it's under 10, let's attack. Whereas before, when they were scoring, it is ball, boom, boom, cut, layup, dunk, 3. So they stopped playing that way. And that is what gets them gets the other team back into the game.
Yeah, there's a difference in using the clock as your friend and not running your sets, not running your offense, right? I mean, maybe they got out of that a little bit. Maybe Missouri State forced them into some. I don't know. Brett Decker Jr. ends up with 20 points, 3 more threes for him.
What a
Colin
player.
Porter with 10 points. And boy, Porter was so clutch down the stretch. That was
my
one thing
goodness.
we were texting about as well. I mean, the free
Always,
throws, the steal with
The
7
steal.
seconds to go. I mean, that was, You talk about making the winning plays and the big moments. And again, credit to Missouri State. They're a good team. That's why they came back.
Right.
But Liberty was the better team in the end, and they
Yeah.
made the plays when they had to make them.
But going back to Colin Porter, though, remember when he was a freshman, he had a huge shot in the A-Sun final game,
Yeah.
the championship game in the Florida. Liberty ended up losing at Kennesaw. But Porter hit a shot late game, and I was just like, man, I can't believe he took that. So it was like a 26-foot three-pointer. And I'll never forget. I'm thinking, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, this kid, he's fearless, and he's gotten better late game every year. And now, is he a senior or is he still a sophomore? I forget where people's eligibility are these days, but he's been around for a while. And his steal at the end of that game, but more importantly, his free throw shooting down the stretch. He just, he doesn't even look like he's breathing hard at the end of the game. He just like walks up there. And how about the foul at the end of the game, Naz, that wasn't a foul with 20 seconds left?
Right.
Porter gets the ball underneath the goal, and he's holding
it. Evades the guy,
and he olays the guy, right? I mean, you can see the Red Bull fighter cape. The guy missed him completely.
Right.
And they blow the whistle. And then Porter missed the front end of that two-shot foul,
right,
and left the door open.
But he made up for it. They don't
blow that whistle. Liberty wins that game by 5 or 6 points,
right,
because that clock is dribbled out.
Yeah,
so.
But he makes up for the miss by getting the steal. I mean, the dude just never quit, and it's just interesting. And not just him, but we've said this before about the other guys. Like, so last game, he hit some free throws, but it wasn't his scoring night. It was Cleveland and Decker. But up in Delaware, 2 nights earlier, he's hitting 23, Porter is. And it's like, this team is, it's one thing to be capable of saying, hey, we got 3 or 4 guys that are capable. But you're seeing it play out game to game. Matheny goes off on his run a couple games ago with 6 threes. And then his next game, I don't need to score. I'll distribute. Yesterday, Caden didn't need to score a lot, but he was such a he ran his guy around, and
he's still
like, because they weren't going to let him get a 3. So he's like, okay, I'm not going to force threes. I'm going to take my guy way out, and that opened the lane up for all those cuts from Cleveland and other guys. JJ Harper getting some passes. So it's like they find other ways to contribute, and they don't feel like I got to score. I got very capable guys, and so it was Zach's day, and Decker hitting shots, and everybody, Smith coming off the bench. How huge was that? Another big game for Josh Smith.
Because J.J. Harper was in foul trouble.
I was going to point out Josh Smith, too. He very quietly had a really good week last week. 12 points against Missouri State, +8 in the plus-minus column, and then 14 points against Delaware, +14. He's only playing 17, 18 minutes, but that's a huge contribution.
He only played 17 against Missouri State and 18 versus Delaware, but when he comes in the game, he makes an immediate impact at both ends. He protects the rim. He's there for lobs. Some of the passes that Cleveland threw, particularly yesterday, Smith was on the other receiving end, and he was finishing shots. I also want to say a little bit about Jones Jr. I mean, he got to play a little bit. He shot 4 threes. Ryan Jones Jr., the transfer from Virginia Tech. He's I think they're going to, the more this season goes on, they're going to start putting him into the lineup because he gives them another big body. And if Smith's not going to play, 20 to 25 minutes, some of those minutes are going to go to him because he is a good post defender. And remember on Wednesday at Delaware had a big that was they were throwing it into him, and he was scoring. And they immediately came off the bench with Smith. But, Jones can also guard bigger guys. So, I think the guy who is suffering from this, though, is our nephew, me and Naz's nephew, Xander Yates, right? Of course, we played with his dad.
Yep.
I feel badly for him because he's still a sniper. He's still nearly 40% three-point shooter. That's his DNA. But he doesn't have that same post presence because he's only 6'7", and in reality, he's a 2-guard, and trying to play the 4 and 5 at this level. So,
on that, I know we'd love to see him, get a little more minutes. Right now, he's not. But from what I know and hear around the program, his voice in the locker room and huddles is really impactful. and he's in and he's locked in. And here's the thing, like there's going to be a game where they're just like, hey, Xander, go in. And like all he needs to do is hit one. And then, so like their number's going to be called. And yesterday it was Ryan Jones. And you're right, Scar, like they brought him in and they needed a big body just to keep on Osei Bonsu. And so it was Smith and then Jones, and he comes in. All his threes were good looks. He
could hit all 4 of those shots.
Right. So it's one of those things where, and that's where Coach McKay and the whole culture is. Look, if tonight's not my number isn't called, I'm fine. I'm all in. It's team win. And so these guys know that, and their numbers are going to be called going down the stretch, and they're going to be in the right headspace, and I know they're going to contribute.
So all of these games throughout this 14-game winning streak have kind of had a different identity, and Liberty has found a way to survive them all. I think the one common thing is that the Flames haven't really been able to get away from anybody. I mean, out the first Delaware game at home, I think maybe that was double digits, I think. But for the most part,
the first half was close.
Yeah, it's a good point. And Liberty got off to a slow start in that first half. The game this past week at Delaware, you see Delaware kind of switch things up a little bit. Am I right there? I mean, they go to that 2-3 zone. Liberty's struggling with that for the majority of the game, but then they find a way to just eke it out. I mean, for one thing, it says a lot about Liberty and the kind of team that they are, that they can morph into what they need to be on a given day. But it kind of brings us to this point. You still got a handful of games left. You got 7 games left or 6 games left here in the season. Who's in the best position to give Liberty a challenge? Not a challenge, because I mean they're being challenged already. But who's in the best position to hand Liberty that first loss? Is there anyone that really sticks out to you right now? I mean, you could say Sam Houston, but they don't see them for another month. Sam Houston's playing well right now. Scar, I'll start with you. Who's kind of the biggest threat right now?
Well, if we're talking first loss, it's anybody left on the schedule. When you think about the bottom 3 teams, FAU, who's the other ones? I don't have it in front of me.
New Mexico State.
New Mexico State.
New Mexico State, yeah.
Those are the closer games. Those are the teams that almost beat Liberty. New Mexico State had the shot to win the game against Liberty.
Yeah.
FIU, Liberty won in overtime down there. And those are the bottom teams in this league. And we just talked about Liberty has trouble pulling away from the better teams in this league. I mean, just looking at the point spreads, they're less than 10 points, a lot of them, but even in those games, though, you feel like Liberty has control over it. But anybody can beat Liberty in this thing. So really, the question is, who can challenge them in Huntsville in March? And that's where you get into the Sam Houstons. I think Missouri State has shown Hanzo Martin's team. They got a big 3. They're well coached. They don't panic. Given day, they can beat Liberty in a 1-game scenario in Huntsville. Middle was a team I thought could, but they've lost 5 in a row. I don't know, but maybe they get their mojo back.
But here's the thing too. You've still got a whole nother month before you get to Huntsville. So can we even really answer the question today?
Well,
because who knows what it's going to be in a month?
That was going to be my answer. The X factor is somebody is going to go off the rails, and maybe that's Middle Tennessee, and somebody's going to get their act together this last month and be going into a tournament. That team that we always say, like, who's playing well? Somebody's going to turn it around. Score, you and I agreed. I think it may be Louisiana Tech. They seem to be, you look at them and I just
Liberty beat them by 15 points at their place, though.
Honestly, that was one of the games that I think when you look back over this win streak, that it really never felt like Liberty was in any kind of trouble in that game. I mean, they were in control pretty much wire to wire.
Yeah, I just mean watching them since then and against some other people, it might be coming together for them.
Yeah, they're 11-1 at home. The one loss was Liberty. I think that was a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah, so it's a hard call, and I just think that's what makes this conference so tough. Somebody jumps out as who's good, but there's going to be some teams where it's going to fall into place these next few weeks, and somebody's going to be hot going in aside from Liberty.
Maybe we find out more when Liberty comes down here to play Kennesaw and then goes to Jackson State, or I think Jacksonville State. I think they do Jacksonville State first, Nick. I don't even remember, honestly.
Right,
but,
right.
That trip is going to be maybe a trip that is, Liberty might have some trouble.
Kennesaw, like
really well.
I got it here in front of me.
You plays.
You got Kennesaw State first on a Thursday night, and Jacksonville State on a Saturday. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you guys know this, or especially you're down there, you see them a lot. The way Kennesaw plays, it's like you don't know what, like, if that thing gets rolling and they start getting up and down and crashing the glass, you don't know. You don't want to be in that. Like, they could just forget their record. They could just turn it on and say, guys, we got nothing to lose. Look, we lost our best player, and it circled the wagons, and they could get dangerous. So there's a lot of people, and we say this a lot. But look at Delaware. I mean, they're sitting there. There's three people tied or near the bottom. It's like, and like you said, Nick, all those teams, regardless of the record, have shown stretches and halves or 3/4 of games where they've been right there with Liberty or with some of the top teams in the conference. So, two teams are not going to make the tournament, and that's going to be crazy because they'll be decent teams and they won't even get a chance to make it with the format the conference tournament is this year.
That's right. Everybody doesn't go to Huntsville. That's right.
Yeah, I think I said that last week, that I just don't feel like there's a lot of separation from the 2 down to like the 8 in this on a given day. I mean, sure, there's separation in a win-loss record, but just matchups when you put them on the floor, it's as competitive in this league as I think it ever has been. When you look at what's coming up here this week for the Flames, next on the docket, you do have 2 games on the road, and it's a tough trip. This is a long trip. I don't understand, and I don't want to be critical because I don't know all of the.
That's what we're here for, Nick. Be critical.
I know, but I don't want to be one of those talking heads, where it's like you just fire off criticism without even.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why Liberty has to play at New Mexico State on a Wednesday night on an ESPN Plus game, and then turn around on a Saturday and go to UTEP. That game will be on ESPN2 Saturday night. Why not Thursday, Saturday? Why?
So you're talking about geography, right? You're talking about Liberty's polar opposites. Really, the further east teams are Liberty, Delaware, FIU down in Florida, playing the further west teams, New Mexico State and UTEP. I get it. I've been covering this league a long time, and I remember when Old Dominion was in the league, and Jeff Jones would say, "Why are we doing this?" But it is that's the context of your conference. So the question is, if you're looking at the schedule and every week you're going to play some Wednesday, but mostly Thursday games. Maybe the conference needs to start looking at geography, but geography has never really played a factor in. I mean, look at the Big Ten right now. We're watching Oregon play, Rutgers and Northwestern's out in UCLA. Like, who wants to see that, first of all? But then the fact that they had to come from Chicago and play a couple of games in Los Angeles. Geography is just not really considered when people are doing these schedules anymore. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, you're right, Nick. It's crazy. I don't understand why they did that either. I guess trying to find the silver lining, like Liberty will get an extra day to just prep. So a lot of times, these Thursday, Saturdays are tough. What's that?
Is that helpful or hurtful?
Well, no, I say helpful because a lot of these. Well, I mean, you got to do it right. You got to spend that day, and
right.
It's out of the norm. So you got to be careful of
exhausting them
and your routine. But the Thursday, Saturday, you have that day in between. You need rest. How much can you really put in? You're going to try to walk through some stuff probably, but this gives them another day to prep for that Saturday game. Which
I'm going to send Richie a text and ask him which one he prefers, because maybe he prefers the 2 day. Because you bring up a great point. You do have that extra day to prepare, because that Saturday game, you start preparing for that on Monday. You get a coach to do that,
right?
But everybody else is focused on Thursday, right? And then you have that one coach on Friday bringing everybody up to speed, right? At least that's how we did it. And I'm sure Richie does something similar. So
so now you'll play Wednesday. You'll have like a little rest Thursday. You can really prep Friday, and then you play Saturday. So
and the travel from New Mexico State and UTEP, it's not it's
Yeah.
nothing. I mean, it's less than an
That's
hour
a very
drive.
short trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
See, we're going to find the positive in it.
There you go, Nick. We hooked you up, buddy.
there you go. But looking at the matchup, I mean, we've already talked about it here, and we'll kind of end on this note, I guess. I mean, New Mexico State and Liberty, they've seen each other one time already here this year. It was a close game at Liberty Arena. New Mexico State, Jamel Jones had a shot for 3 to try to win the game. Liberty ended up surviving that one 73-71. When you look at the matchup, guys, second time around, could you see New Mexico State, I don't want to say reinventing the wheel, but throwing something different at Liberty here this time around? How much tougher are they going to be at home? I mean, how different is this game going to look?
The home thing is big. They have tremendous support for that program out there. So that's big. And obviously teams play better when they're home. Teams also play better when they're playing against the top teams in their league. Yep. So you check those boxes. So you got energy, crowd, best team coming in. And they've only lost by 2.
Oh, sorry, Scar.
Yeah, good. And they only lost by 2 on the road. So they could beat Liberty.
Right, exactly. And then add a fourth dimension, like they're in desperation mode. Like they went from being up in the top half of the conference early on to dropping, and now they're one of the teams in danger of not even making the tournament.
Oh, wow.
So it's like they're going to be fit to be tied and scrap and claw. So it's going to really be a tough game.
I didn't think about that. Must win for them, huh?
Yeah.
Getting there. Yeah, I mean they're 4 now. If it all ended today, New Mexico State and Delaware would be on the outside looking in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, New Mexico State, they're only 2-4 at home in conference, so it's not like they've been dominant in that stretch. They didn't lose a conference game at home, or a non-conference, excuse me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I it's going to be tough. I mean, just from the standpoint of the travel, you're changing time zones twice.
Yeah. And UTEP is, it's funny. They sort of sank early, but they had was it 7 road games or something? Like they went on the road a lot. Maybe it was 5 away and 2 home or something like that. Their first 7 games. So now they're back home and they've kind of found their way to play. They're playing a lot better than when we saw them in Lynchburg. So again, that's not going to be all bad to have another extra day to prep for them.
Yeah, UTEP is a team that plays much better at home, 8-5 at home, as opposed to just 1-8 on the road. Look at what they've done recently. Speaking of UTEP, they've lost 3 out of their last 5, but they did get an overtime win against New Mexico State this past Saturday, 91-88 at the Don Haskins Center down in El Paso. They'll have Jacksonville State first on Wednesday night. So both teams will be on the same amount of rest going into Saturday. UTEP and Liberty met once earlier this year already in Lynchburg. Liberty won that one 80-69, and again, what was, I thought, a pretty competitive basketball game. So
what's crazy work is UTEP is playing at Jacksonville State on Wednesday, and then they have to travel to play a home game.
Back home, yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I looked at that wrong. I saw that as they were hosting No, you're right.
No.
They are on the road
State.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then got to turn around and come home and play Liberty on Saturday.
The scheduling is a little.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, this is kind of where we're at too. I mean, when conferences go national like that, you talked about it earlier with Oregon and playing Rutgers and all that. Yeah. It just kind of is what it is. But the Flames, I mean, they're eking out these close games, and look, they're winning them. I mean, I know that there was a little angst after or whatever from the fan base after the game Saturday. Richie got asked a question about it after the game.
Yeah.
It's like, look, it is what it is. And you look around, I mean, UConn just lost this past weekend. They had, an 18-game winning streak, and they get beat by St. John's. So,
it happens. In all the conferences, the great teams are still, it's every night. You better be ready because you could lose one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, any final thoughts from you guys here before we shut things down?
No, but I mean, a couple things. The thing that's hanging over everybody's head in terms of in your mind is, will Liberty run the table? That's a realistic thing that you need to talk about. But again, the players don't need to talk about that, and the coaches don't need to talk about that. But
Yeah.
I'm of the mind that on any given night of the remaining teams on their schedule, they can all beat Liberty. Doesn't mean they will, but any one of them can clip them. And it's almost like, you hate to say this, but it almost would be better if they did get clipped, because there's a lot of pressure having won every regular season game and then absolutely still being in a must-win situation when it's all said and done in Huntsville. It's win or go home in Huntsville, regardless of whether you won every Conference USA game you played. If you lose in Huntsville, it's all for naught. So, but if you lose one, then you feel a little bit better. You know what? Hey, we're not trying for perfection, because none of us are perfect. Basketball teams aren't perfect, and when you start trying to be perfect, you end up failing. So, the psychological component, it's fun fodder for us to talk about, but hopefully the guys in Lynchburg, Richie McKay and his crew, are not thinking about those things.
Go ahead.
No, I'll just say final thought. Yeah, it's a good thought about, it's just sort of like, what will you do if it happens? If it doesn't happen, what's your focus? Keep your focus to where it should be. And if it does happen, what's that going to do to your focus? Like, right. Again, it won't be the end of the world. How, they'll have to learn from that and respond from that. But yeah, just to not blast over it. Like, it's incredible that this run is amazing. And the excitement, but it couldn't happen to a better group of guys too, man. Yeah. They're just such great people and families that they represent. It's just awesome to see them get this kind of success. I mean, the three guys coming back for another year, they could have gone and done other things. Amazing. So, man, go Flames Nation. It's awesome to watch these guys on this streak.
That'll wrap it up here for this week's show. NASCAR Podcast, part of the Liberty Flames podcast family. Hit that follow button and subscribe to get our shows downloaded directly to you. The Liberty Flames podcast, presented by Rogers Heating and Cooling, servicing Greater Lynchburg's HVAC and electrical needs. Schedule your service at callrogers.com. For Naz, for Scar, I'm Nick Pierce. Enjoy the hoops this weekend, everybody.